It is amazing, isn't it? How that life, especially those of us who are connected in the spirit, how that we all have some form of connecting thoughts, and that our dreams, goals, and ambitions all seem to, gender to one point. My dear friend, Pastor Joe Fox, out there at Shofar Mountain Viking Preparedness, you'll see his channel linked over there on my channel. He made a video that says live deliberately. And again, he brought up some very good points. Now, the reason why I'm here echoing this same video from my dear friend and brother, Pastor Fox, is because myself, Elder Doug, Teacher Shane, we were sitting in front of the shop the other day, and I'm sure y'all saw the video that I did a few days ago, Do Your Own Work. And we were talking about this very same thing, live deliberately. And how do you accomplish that? How do you do that? Well, it was in my 20s, my mid-20s, when things start changing for me in my mind, because I started to actually use my conscience more. That's what I did. I actually started using my conscience more. And I looked at the world, still a very young man at this time. Just about that time, I've had an experience that I've never had in church all of my life. I had an experience with the Most High that totally charted and changed my whole entire course. I learned very early on that happiness is not possessed by stuff. Of course, that's the way I put it. But the Bible says that a man's life does not consist in the abundance of things in which he possesses. In other words, translation, interpretation. I can remember Sister Carol and I having our own townhouse, whatever you want to call it. We had 2 cars. One time we had 3. But we also had a lot of debt. At least to me, it was considered a lot of debt. At that time, I was making a decent amount of money. So I didn't think it was too much of a plight or struggle to have, a little bit of debt. But I started thinking, and I started reading that Bible, and I said, man, look at this thing. This Bible says, I never heard it before in my life, because the whole economy is based on debt. And I read in there, and it said a borrower is a servant to the lender. I sit and thought for a second, got some quiet time to meditate. I started thinking, man, that's just another form of slavery, just another form. I like, wow. So I started reading what I consider to be the greatest book on the face of planet Earth. And the only way you're going to discover that is if you apply the principles thereof. If you don't apply the principles, you will never comprehend and understand it. See, because there is a dynamic, and there is a window, if I can use that term. There's a speech. There's a door of comprehension that is opened to you when you do. Not just read it and know that it's there, not just have the book on hand to say that I have it, but there is something that takes place, and there is something dynamic that happens in your life when you physically do what it says. So, I'll give you a quick rundown. Sister Carol and I, we had 2 children. For the most part of our early part of our marriage, she was at home, and then there was other times that she would work. I was in the military. When I got in the military, I worked 3 jobs, and I'll tell you how I got to there in just a second. And Sister Carol was working at the bank. She still had to get the children up in the morning. She still had to do the home duties of cooking and cleaning, taking care of her husband as well as the children, and then end up going to work herself. I sat back and I looked at, I'm going to call it the plight. I look at the plight of my wife, like, man, she is a very busy woman. I mean, her day is filled. I mean, it is full, literally full. And I started to, again, the Bible's a great influence for me. I started thinking, man, I got to get her at home so that she can function in her role. That's what I said. So, you know what I did? I didn't wait for our debts to get paid off. I told her, quit your job. You ain't working out there no more. To the mind right here, the first thing that happens, go, what in the world? What in the world is going? Why would you tell her quit your job? That is nonsensical. That doesn't make any sense. Yeah, I still had a car payment too. Two of them was paid off, but I still had a car payment. And we had made the sacrifice of downsizing our life because there's no lasting change that is going to happen without pain, without some discomfort, or what you call discomfort. So when I told her that, she had no idea what I was planning on doing, because I'm sure logically she's looking at, okay, how are we going to do this? I mean, he's telling me to quit my job and I'm going to quit because he said so. That's the type of wife I've got. And he's only working one. I didn't tell her I was planning on getting more in order to accomplish this mission and task. But I did. I went out and I got a couple of more, and I don't mind telling you, I was pretty much in zombie mode at the 6-month mark when I was working 3 jobs, and it was starting to affect my health because I was only getting like 2-3 hours of sleep a day. You can't continue to keep doing that, but I did get rest on the Sabbath, but I was just starting to preach then. Then I turned around and just pulled it back to 2. And I got a little bit more rest. So I started searching around for, a different job where I could actually still, put in those kind of hours, but kind of work on a commission basis. It wasn't sales either. I guess you could call it sales, but it really wasn't sales. It was a uniform route. I worked for Aramark Uniforms. I had a route. I was able to grow my route, made a lot of money, and I was able to pay off the debts and everything and make a lot of changes in life. I said all that to say this, that I did accomplish my mission by getting my wife off the job. I did accomplish my mission by getting out of debt, because if I figured that I was going to live different than Americans do, and I'm going to include Pastor Fox's video down here because I think y'all will listen to it, because he's in a beautiful setting out in the woods. And I remember as a boy, I used to love just going to the woods, and now guess where I live at? Out in the woods. But I have a lot of modern day conveniences. I don't mind telling you that I work very, very hard. As a matter of fact, I work harder now than I did, and I thought I was working hard then, and I probably was. But I work harder now than I did when I was out there in the world. And I'll tell you the reason why I work harder now than I did. Because what I'm doing now, while I do benefit somewhat, the majority of all the labor of my hands is for the best interest of other people. Those who actually choose to be brothers, sisters, in the lifestyle that I clearly have seen through the scriptures. Sure, I've actually went around and learned a few things from a few other people who was doing this, and if you look at it, there may be communities, but many communities are not successful communities. And most people think that I'm a very hard and callous man. No, that's just what you see on the videos, but you truly don't know me. I mean, if you really truly want to know me, then you're going to have to actually speak to those people who have been around me for some time. They've seen my strengths as well as my weaknesses, my ups as well as my downs. Ask Pastor Fox, what is your opinion of Pastor Dow? And you will get a truthful, honest answer. Ask him yourself. Are there other people that dissent, that have opposing opinions? Sure they do. Sure they do. But those people, they don't know me. And if you look at those people, they're not doing what we're doing. So it's comfortable for them to condemn what we're doing. But I found out that in life, it's not about you. When a mother has a child, her life is over with. It's not about her any longer. It's about those children. Most people here in America live for self and selfishness. And most people, especially, a lot of times mothers, especially if they really truly don't get it. Because if you watch this American-minded woman today, she believes that everything needs to become more easy and more comfortable in order for her to be benefited in some way, shape, fashion, or form. And she doesn't have to contribute too much of anything in return. And that's a bad philosophy, a bad place and bad idea. But what do you want to accomplish? Well, I've accomplished what I wanted to accomplish in life. What I'm doing is enhancing what I have accomplished. Not only do I actually have this community right here, but I actually have one, two, three, four, five. 5 other small Israelite fellowships that are upcoming and developing. And they're experiencing and going through some of the same things that I had to go through from the very beginning. But I can tell you right now that life is not about you. And the reason why these communities are popping up is because these people in their young age, they can see clearly, just like I have saw, the vision. It's so much of a blessing when I can wake up in the morning and pour my heart, soul, mind, and spirit into this land. But why? Because it's benefiting others. In other words, if you want to be great, you're not great because you're trying to make room for yourself. And I learned that principle in the scriptures as well. A man's gift makes room for himself and brings him before great men. You're great because of the sacrifices that you make for others. You're great because you have really truly gotten a revelation of what it means to be a servant. And that's what I am. I'm a literal servant. Sure, at times I don't pull any punches whatsoever at all when it comes to speaking and teaching, because as I get older, I find out I have less tolerance for foolishness, frivolity. I have a whole lot less tolerance for ignorance, especially if you have never applied any of the principles that I've done. Let me just put it like this. Because of choices and decisions that I've made, Yah has surrounded me with faithful brothers who get it and understand, in their families. And because of my choices and decisions that I made, we probably have 40, 60 people that are living the life that they want to live, to where they don't have to get into, okay, you go to work 40, 50 hours a week, go to the mall on Saturday, go to church on Sunday, have a cookout maybe, go to ball games. Most people's lives up here, it's all about having the children. They go to school and then run them around crazy all year long playing some sport so that the parents can sit off in the bleachers and argue and scream at each other. It's just a crazy thing. They keep the children so busy. But that's what they call life. But I chose to deliberately live life by following what that word says. My happiness has come in the form of peace. And anytime something disturbs that peace, I get alarmed. And when I get alarmed, I start thinking on making choices and decisions in order to try to recover the peace that has been, or some way, somehow has been taken from me. Let me use that word. And of course, through study, and of course, the Bible does. I mean, Paul got accused of much learning has made him mad. And of course, when you hear me speak after the sort that I do and then compare it to what you've always been familiar with, you would think I'm a madman too, until you really listen. And then you really start considering, and then you find out I speak forth the words of truth and soberness, and I haven't lied to you. How do I want to be remembered? I'll tell you how I want to be remembered. As a servant. A servant to all. I have made myself a servant to all. Because the greatest accomplishment in life is when you have spent your life in the service of others who you love and have built a strong brother and sisterhood and relationship with. The greatest accomplishment in life, after you have amassed all this wisdom and knowledge in life, after you have learned many, many things, after you have put your hands literally to the plow for the kingdom, at least from my perspective is to not be needed at all. That's the greatest accomplishment in life, because I'm in the process of training and rearing pastors to become greater pastors than what they are. I teach people about healing, power, and deliverance so they can become greater and more powerful in deliverance. But all this doesn't come because it's dropped in your lap. It all comes because of sacrifice. I have not arrived where I'm at on this community to where I want this community at. I still have a few things that I need to accomplish, but I'm not dependent upon the mind, the will, or the understanding of somebody else to get it done. I'm dependent on the choices and decisions I made and what I've learned and what I know it's going to work over the years. Have I made mistakes as I've gone? Sure, but I can help many people minimize a lot of mistakes if they choose to listen. If they don't, it's none of my business. It's your choice. Whatever makes you happy. But it does take sacrifice. It takes commitment. It takes loving your brother and sister. And when you really truly have love for your brother and sister, you'll know what it means to also love yourself. Because you can't love your brother and sister until you learn how to love yourself. So it's all about sacrifice. So as a leader, anybody that's a leader of a community, the first thing that should happen is you should be working so that to get free, so that you don't have to work on that job, because once you get off that job, you're going to have a job on you greater than any job you ever had. And think about this. It's obvious you're going to have to bring in income, but is it not a wonderful thing if you have a brother or two or three or four or five that can actually go out there and make an income for the community? I'm just give you some hypotheticals here, okay? Make an income for the community, and then when they get home, they have no light bill, no phone bill, no grocery bill, no car insurance, no car notes, no water bill, no clothing bill. Now, we don't have the amenities nor the luxuries that the world has, because everything they've got, they still don't have it, because what they have, it's all on debt, and the debt has them. They have to actually go out and work so that they can pay off what the flesh wants. And it's amazing, like when you buy a new car. If you ever bought a new car, I bought 2 new cars in my life. I think 2, maybe 3. And I said I'd never do it again. Not a new one. That's your choice. Now, if I had an insurmountable bank account to infinity, I probably would buy one. But I don't have that. You get that new car. Wow, y'all see how meticulous you are when you first get that thing, man. And you're taking care of that thing. It ain't too long before the newness starts wearing off, and then that car note becomes a burden. It becomes a heavy, great burden. And that's what this whole life is. I want you to listen to me for the rest of this video, okay? This whole life is designed to keep you oppressed, to consume your time, and to burden you down. It's designed to keep you depressed. The system has gotten it all set up that if you are going to be one of the high income or middle income wage earners in this world, you've got to live and support it. So they give you higher education, which nobody can really truly pay for unless you use your mind. I know I have a daughter that went to college and she has no debt. We don't have any debt. And we have children. Now, mind you, none of our children has actually chose to live the lifestyle that we live here on this land. They chose to go do their own thing. They have information in front of them. But when you go to college and you get into that debt, that's the system designed it that way so that you will have to go out and work to support the debt-based system that America has. It's all by design. So if you want to change the way things are functioning in life, you're just going to have to be willing to make sacrifices, and you're going to have to go through some heartache and pain. And I'm not about to ease that pain from you, because that pain would teach you. That which does not kill you will only make you stronger. And know this, the more changes that you make to get free from the world and to change your mind from the way that this world runs and comes, and goes, people will call you all kind of names because they're conditioned after the world. I mean, I've been called all kind of names, and still to this day, I'm called all kind of names, except with the people that get it. Now I'm starting to, more than anything, it's been over a few years, there are people who are comprehending and understanding what I'm saying, and they get it, and they live outside of the United States of America. I have quite a few families in different countries, Austria, Africa, England, the Netherlands, Germany, Finland, Hawaii, Canada, Puerto Rico. I haven't heard of that one in a while, but I've got people that contact the ministry, and because they see it, they get it, and they understand. I deliberately live the way that I live, and I work my fingers to the bone. I keep going till I can't go no more, which I do need to change that because I'm hitting a particular juncture in my life to where my wisdom, my knowledge that I have applied over the years is more valuable than me actually getting out there, laying blocks, framing a home, running a backhoe, a track hoe, or a dozer, building custom cabinets, hanging sheetrock, roof, doing a roof on a building. I can go on and on and on and on and on. Laying foundations, pouring concrete. Now, what I have done in life, I have now got to start making the shift. The shift to, when I go around these places, I need to help save a lot of these people who catch it and who get it, what life is all about. I need to try to do what I can to influence their minds if they can hear, because I can gauge how much a person hears by what they do, not by what they say, but by what they do. And so that's why I'm becoming more valuable. But I know one thing, when it's all said and done, when my life is over, people are going to say that if it wasn't for Pastor Dow, I would not understand what it means to have community and live on community and to live debt-free. They will say he was a servant to all men. And there was no in between with Pastor Dow. You either loved him or you hate him, period. That's all there is to it. They will say he didn't waste his life because, after all, this very building that we're standing in, he built it. Now, I had help with the brethren for sure, but they can say he built that. He built this assembly. He built this home. He built this dining hall. He built the fellowship hall. He built that. He built the guest trailer, guest room. He's had his hand on every piece of land under the Straightway Truth Ministries. I mean, that's what. Now, who knows? I mean, I don't know. Most people may have an opposing point of view. It wouldn't make no difference to me. I won't be here. But the one thing about it is, I've invested in myself so I could be able to invest in others. I've imparted things into myself so I can impart things to others. I went through the pain of a learning curve so that I could teach others how they can minimize their mistakes. I speak on matters of the heart so that people can understand how and comprehend how to overcome the enemy. I do need to do books. You know, Elder Frank says, Pastor, if you just talk, I will transcribe them. And I sure do appreciate it. And believe me, Elder, I'm doing everything I can in my power to try to get to that point. I really am. But as it stands right now, I still have to work hard, which I don't mind. And anybody who knows me, they know I don't mind. But it's really time for me to start making another shift in life to where I can be more of a benefit to others. I've done a lot of heavy lifting. Now it's time for others to do the heavy lifting. It's time for me to give the wisdom to those who are coming. But life is not about run out here chasing a dollar bill. So you have to wake up every morning in order to support the lifestyle that is becoming increasingly difficult to sustain. When I walk out my door in the morning, I see woods. I do. I see woods. A lot of times I see turkey. Sometimes I see deer. I have a natural spring-fed creek that runs adjacent to the property that anytime I want, I could go down here and catch some smallmouth bass. There's such a sense of accomplishment when you have your hands in the dirt and you're growing your own food. But all this didn't come because we said, hocus pocus, and it was here. No, it came, the blessings came because of the labor of your hands. And they're not going to come any other way. You can try to have the attitude to pay somebody else do it all day long, but when it's all said and done, you still know nothing. I believe living deliberately, especially if you're a believer, is simplifying your life. So simple. So that you can live deliberately. Good video, Pastor Fox. Mine is 3 times as long as yours, but I thought I'd just go in a little greater detail and stuff. And believe me, I understand why many people, when they first hear me, it's a shock. They don't want any fellowship with me because they judge me based on the dynamic of ministry or the dynamic of presenting truth, but they really, truly don't know me as a person. I said it once, and I will say this one more time for the 1,000th time. There is not one person on this earth, not a one, that can tell you the evil I have done to them or the wrongs that I have done to them and be truthful. Not one. Also, if I have ever hurt and injured, and I have people, I have made sure that I met the conditions of the Bible to get it right. Now, whether they choose to accept it or not is another story. But the last thing you want to do before the breath go out of your body is to be bitter at anyone. You do not want to take that chance ever. You want to make sure you have peace in your heart. So if you ever done anybody wrong, get it right. So therefore, once you get it right now, they can say anything they want afterwards, all they want. But the bottom line, if you met y'all's conditions, and don't expect the world to do that. But there's not a person in this world can tell you what I have done to them, that have hurt them, disappointed them to the point, in fact, that they hate me. Do I have enemies? Yes, I do. And that's because they've chosen to be my enemies. It's not because I actually done something to them to make them be my enemies, but they've chosen that, and I know who they are. And just as I am faithful in trying to be a just, right, and good man, I am also trying to make sure that with those people who have made me their enemies, I am the best enemy that they have ever had in their life. And so there are people who have burned bridges with me that just simply cannot be crossed again, because I must keep my peace that I've obtained through wisdom. Sorry for the long video, but I hope I've taught you something. But I will tell you this, straightway, the community, we are at the best that we have ever been in the almost 18-year existence here on this land. In other words, the people that we have here on this land right now, we're at the best. We're at the best ever that it has been. Love them all. Love them all. And we have so much peace and so much tranquility. And we're just like a well-oiled machine. I have a beautiful family with the people who live on this land. And there are people who are going to come too. You know, we're not changing. I'm not changing my lifestyle to suit people, because I've been there, done it. I know what it takes. If anyone is going to become part of the community, you're going to acquiesce to us. You're going to live after our mannerism. And that's going to be our choice and decision. If you're going to be on any of the other places, all the leaders, they run things past me, because they know they don't have the time to make the same mistakes with humanity and people. And they know that I have a very strong spirit of discernment. And I'm a pretty good judge of character. I mean, I've been living 49 years. Wouldn't I be a good judge of character by now, especially through my many experiences? Sure I would. And so these people have chosen to take my advice. Young men, 10 years behind me. If you take my advice, follow me as I follow the Messiah, that's your choice. You don't have to. Believe me. Believe me. Not only you find a good friend, but you'll find a faithful family in the whole entire ministry of Straightway. And you'll find friends that love it at all times, regardless. Sure, will there be disagreements, bumps and bruises? Sure will. But our appeal is that we're working towards sincere agape love. But there are people that will never, ever, 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 if they had the place or had a point to where they could have had the place, they would never, ever be a part of this ministry or my life ever again. Never. I will not let them. Because after they get finished with their disparaging comments, after they get finished with their holding the truth in unrighteousness or lying, deceitful words of treachery meant to cause injury and pain, it's finished, isn't it? It's done. They said what they needed to say. If it affects you, it's your choice and decision. You can let it affect you all you want. But it's over then, isn't it? When they get finished talking, it's over. Because they can't say anything they haven't already said. Life is too short to build bad relationships. It really is. You need to work on building healthy, solid relationships. You really, truly do. You need to do it for your sake and the sake of others. I'm surrounded by wonderful people. And I'm going to say this again. I'm going to end the video on this. I have lived in the world, now live set apart. I've been doing this thing for a long time. I think I have this thing almost down packed by now. If I don't, I'm a whole lot farther along than you are. That is the truth. I don't think that you've got too much that you could teach me if you do not have the experience of doing what that Bible says and live it. But I do have a wealth of knowledge I can teach you, because, see, the difference is your mind functions a whole lot different than ours do here on Straightway. Our mind functions totally different. Well over half the community here, the adults on the community here at Straightway, all have degrees. Now you tell me, after the world saw it, they will call them intelligent people. If that is the case, and that is the case, then they have showed they know how to use their intelligence. We have a beautiful family. We do. Just simply we do. Man. Long video. But I've learned how to live deliberately by not living the lifestyle that America has set this cosmos in order and told us how we should live. If you want to live deliberately and live different, live like no other man and think like no other man. And the best refuge and place for that to get wisdom, knowledge, and understanding is the scriptures. And if you can't understand the scriptures, then there are people like myself that are sitting right here in front of you that can show you the example and the way. I got a young man in the ministry that is, he's been with me 8 years. 8 years. And this young man is already making the steps. He already owns a nice chunk of land. I mean, a very good piece of land. And we're going to help him build on that land. Isn't this a good sense of accomplishment because of the choices and decision that this young man has made, that by the time he gets 32 years old, I'm just using that as an example because everything that he has on that land is going to be paid for as soon as he get there. But by the time he's 32 years old, not only has he been able to make a life for himself, but he's been able to make a life because he chose to live like no other person in America. He's going to be able to provide a life for himself and possibly 4 other families to live outside of the scope of the debt tyranny in the United States of America. It's a beautiful thing, isn't it? You want to be wise, you have to listen to wise men. And the question is, who is a wise man among you? You are going to be the ones to determine who that is. And then you're going to find out if you're wise. It's a beautiful thing. How many 28-year-old people you know that own their own land? And going to own not only, it's just a beautiful thing. You get what I'm saying. I hope I said something to stimulate you. Thank you for the video, Pastor Fox. Very good, my friend. Shalom. Y'all have a wonderful day. King coming.